Say you get a new guy coming in. I think you've worked with Ricky Fowler, and you get a new guy coming in. How much pressure is that on you, or any of the players, for you to not get caught up in our world where people that I work with, or even on Twitter, that start doubting your instruction? Everybody's an expert, and they really aren't, but they have opinions. How do you just kind of block that out, or do you listen to any of that stuff, or is it just noise?
I'm way better at it now. The older you get, the more that you kind of have your priorities in line with what really matters and what doesn't. But you're right. I mean, everybody's an expert, and everybody's really good at assuming or maybe inferring on what it is that they could do or would tell this guy or that guy. And there's so many other things that go into it, right? These guys' habits, lifestyles, what their interests are, what their goals really are, their history, home, how they communicate, how they learn. There's so many other things. If it was just make this guy's arm go here instead of there, and then they run off and win a bunch of golf tournaments, well then nobody would need a golf teacher, right?
Right.
So yeah, I just try to kind of block it out, and I think when you have a good handle on it and you're confident in what it is you're doing, you're giving your guys the right information.
I think that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I think as long as you guys are on the same page, and I've heard you quoted when you see a guy having a good week, and I think you said that if they're happy at home and everything in their home life is great, they're going to play well, they're going to be successful. I think that's as important as anything, not just the work, it's just the atmosphere around there. I mean, I know for me, of course, I was blessed with a wife that played, understood the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows. But she was my biggest cheerleader, and there were times where she just like, hey, get off your butt and get out there and do this. If you're going to be home, if you're going to be home, be home, and if you're going to be on the road, focus out there. I think Bruce Litsky did it about as good as anybody I know of being able, to do that. And I think, you have to see it too. Is there anything when you see maybe the guy going into a week that maybe sticks out to you, feel like, hey, these guys are going to have a good week? Because I remember we walked together at the Hope with Kiz. And I didn't think there's any way he wasn't going to top 5, and he didn't. It's just the crazy game we play in.
It is. It's I can't tell you how many times I've got on an airplane to go home, and not feeling real good about one guy or the other, or kind of beating myself up, trying to rack my brain of how to communicate this better or how to expedite some of the stuff I want to do or whatever it may be. And by the time the plane lands or whatever it is, they're 4 under through 7 or something, And like you said, the other way around, like that week at Hope, is like, who's going to beat this guy? And then they finish 60th or whatever it is. There's just so much more that goes into it. But I guess, it's still a game, right? And ball still bounces this way and that way, and emotions fly and other things. But from a holistic view, if you got guys who have kind of defined the goals and they got a good coach in front of them, they understand what it is they're working on. They have some ownership in it, where it's not me just trying to tell you something, but you actually have your head around it. You know what practice is supposed to look like. You know what training is supposed to look like. Everybody's on the same page. And like you said, the mystical strokes gained approach, home life, it's kind of the glue that holds it all together.
I think they need to put that as a stat. we have every other stat. I think it ought to be a stat that's probably the one that sticks out the most. And that's kind of the way I do when I'm an analyst for the Golf Channel. I don't get as much into the swings. Now I'll look at some stuff, but I'll look at the way they walk, the way they talk, just their appearance on the golf course. I look at that more than anything. I can a lot of times tell when you get out of your routine, as you said, they get out of their process. You can tell when guys are nervous. They either tend to speed up or slow down. They do opposite of what they're supposed to do. But when you say about owning your own game, what do you mean by that? I've heard that said so many times. What's your definition of owning the game, owning your game?
Yeah, I just think from our standpoint as instructors, walking into the old paradigm of walking into a hour lesson and just kind of trying to do something that somebody tells you to do, and then running off an hour later and going back out, it just doesn't really work, right? You haven't put in the reps, you haven't any skills. From a motor learning standpoint, that's not ever going to cut it. So, I think the more that I spend so much time early on with my players, the first few months I work with them, of explaining things and them understanding what this means and what we're doing and why, and how to train it themselves and how to kind of self-coach themselves, so they don't have the dependency of that they can't get better unless I'm standing right in front of them, right? Like,
Right.
obviously, you'd like to, but the most efficient way you could do it is to have somebody there coaching them. You can do more push-ups if somebody's yelling in your ear, but at the same time, they need to understand it and have some ownership in it themselves, so that they can. I think the more they understand it, then the more confidence they start building, and when they're working on it, and knowing that they have a little bit of ownership in it, that they understand it, they can implement it themselves, and then it kind of becomes their idea, which is a huge deal, especially with tour players. It needs to be their idea, and they have their head around it versus just something that their coach is making them do or telling them to do that they're not